Hey all, welcome in. Hope you guys can hear me. Waiting for this thing to pop, and then we'll jump right in. There we are. Always takes a second. So the question today, I try and address all of the concerns and issues that everybody out there has, and everybody's worried about everything. So I'm going to talk about all the stuff that I see that is broken, and how we can save ourselves from some of it going forward as well. So it's going to start a little bit heavy and down at the beginning, but I promise it'll get better, and it'll have crypto involved in it and many other things as well. So let's jump in. Ton of stuff to get through, but we'll go real fast as usual. This is Edutainment, Math, Money, and Freedom. Nothing like the math in yesterday's video, thank goodness. That burnt me out. But let's talk about some of the bad news first. So first of all, not a lot of good news. In the US alone, for example, JP Morgan estimate that half of the jobs that are still not filled are gone forever. So what this basically means here is about 22 million jobs were lost at the beginning of the pandemic. About 15, 16, 17 million have been added back. And roughly about 5.5 million of those off, about 2.9 or maybe 3 million are no longer seeking work. So people are trying to figure out how to do things on their own. So that's not good news. But the good news related to that is the Fed will keep on printing money to make sure all of these people get back to work. So that is good. Second of all, supply chains are broken. I don't know if anybody out there has ever tried to order a refrigerator or a dishwasher or something. I did that very lately. And normally you could walk into a store and get stuff, but no, it's not that easy anymore. So in a recent study, I think about 87% of people said they were adversely affected by supply chain issues over the last year. 60% approximately say it's very hard to get the things they want. 51% had to cancel orders, and a whole bunch of other pains. And is it going to get better? I don't think so. In addition, there's some metrics that we use here in California. We look at the boats outside Long Beach in Los Angeles, and normally there's no boats queued up. Right now, the cargo ships that are out there is about 73 today, and that's up from about 44 in August. So we have this thing called ship's clog, which drives inflation. The longer the boats are out there with the goods on them, the more expensive it is for those goods. So that is a problem. Now let's talk about some other stuff. We don't need to talk about this at all, but Delta is definitely hampering the global recovery. That's all I'm going to say about that. I think it's pretty obvious to everybody. Now, inflation is still inflating, as we know. And speaking for our European friends, I know it's late for you guys, but there's always a few of you night owls up watching. Eurozone costs have risen the fastest in the last 20 years. And by the way, Asia just outbid Europe for natural gas. So there's a larger wave of inflation perhaps to hit, because those that heat their homes or factories or stuff with natural gas, well, it was just bought by Asia. So we'll talk more about Asia in a second. Right now, in fact. So China power crunch. So China's growing power crunch threatens more global supply chain chaos. You can see how everything is kind of interrelated, as things are in the world today. Everything is networked, everything is impacted. When something happens, something else has a knock-on effect. So if you thought supply chains weren't messed up enough, well, they say it could get a lot worse. So China has no power. Now we know why they kicked out the Chinese miners. Okay, there's a growing power supply crunch in China. There's lots of rolling blackouts. They're shutting down factories. They're forcing factories to work only 3 days a week instead of 7 days and stuff like that. And production is being cut. And this is a vast economy, and that's going to put a lot of strain on global supply chains. So if you think it was bad in the last year, it could get a lot worse. And I've been talking about that, but it's important for us to be aware of that. Now, we know as well, this is a little bit of China has shunned Bitcoin, but the world is embracing it. So there's a little bit of silver lining here. We knew that China had kicked out miners because they wanted to float their own digital yuan as their CBDC. But it looks now that their grid cannot handle the pressure of the power that was required for these miners. So maybe they didn't really want to kick out the miners. Maybe they had to because they couldn't keep their own lights on. So we'll see. But the good news is, according to this article anyway, despite crypto being shunned by China, nobody cares. We'll talk more about what the Chinese are doing. And the one thing that is undeniable is that fiat currencies, whether in China or the rest of the world, will have problems. And there's no killing Bitcoin. And the benefits of the blockchain technology are too big to go unused, even if it threatens those within power. Speaking of those within power, let's talk a little about political infighting. So Senator Warren, she basically said Jay Powell is a dangerous man. Ooh, this is interesting. So now we have politicians throwing dirt at each other. So this is about the renomination of Jay Powell. He's the guy in the United States who prints all the money, and all the other central banks around the world kind of follow his lead. So in fact, Europe has printed more money than the US. But Senator Warren believes he's a dangerous man, and she doesn't like him in power, even though she is kind of a Democrat, so she likes money printing and giving money out. But his office is expiring. He was supposed to be a shoo-in for the nomination. Looks like they may not have happened because there were some trading scandals for two of his team members who were forced to resign over the last couple of days. And these were regional Fed presidents. So they were using their knowledge of the markets to trade very heavily. I covered that a few weeks ago. But some of their trades were fantastic. They knew exactly what was going on. And there was one guy, he had, I think, over 25 different filings of $1 million plus trades across all the stuff like the Zoom and all the COVID type stocks that you could imagine. So well done to those insider traders within the government. Now let's talk a bit about the US debt limit. This stuff has a lot of macro backdrop. It's important for us to be aware of so we can invest accordingly. The US debt limit versus the total debt limit. We are at the roof. And of course, there'll be political drama and games, but that will be raised up and more money will be printed. It's just the normal thing we go through, but the stock market normally bounces after that. Now, speaking of running out of cash, the government is running out of cash, and unless they increase that debt ceiling, the US will be out of cash by the 18th of October. Now, during the Trump administration a year or two ago, I think the US government was closed for more than 3 weeks, so it could happen again, but normally the stock market rebounds after it reopens, so it's not all bad at all. But Janet Yellen, the lady here, she needs more cash. What's she going to do? We'll see. Well, instead of, let me pop this up. Instead of her going after, I think it was this article said, she is going to go after different sources of raising taxes from people, like going after unrealized capital gains. Interesting. But why doesn't she go after the Taliban? Because the US left a ton of money back in Afghanistan when they abandoned the Afghanistan people. Literally, there's videos on YouTube of Taliban soldiers rifling through suitcases full of cash. We're talking millions and millions and millions of dollars. That's where the money printing goes. Good stuff. Don't want to get political, but Janet Yellen wants to consider unrealized capital gains as a source of income tax. So this is a kind of an interesting proposal. Of course, don't be alarmed. It'll never fly. You can't actually do that. But she had this aha moment. It's like, okay, yeah, Janet Yellen, she said that unrealized capital gains is income. Just let that sink in, everybody, for a second. Unrealized capital gains being income. Imagine you buy a house, costs $100,000. It goes up to $150,000, which can happen these days in about 8 months. You will owe short-term capital gains on $50,000 gains. How can you expand your mortgage and pay for that? Do you have an extra $25,000 hanging around your pocket to pay? No, it's ridiculous. But this would also cause a mass exodus of the US. It would destroy US capitalism. It would destroy capital markets overnight, etc. So why are these politicians talking such rubbish? I don't understand. I don't know. But anyway, that's politics. So in other not so good news, there is a truly enormous new comet flying to Earth here. And this is the biggest one, I think, on record. It is like 10 times larger than the one called the Hale-Bopp, which was like 80 kilometers across or something. And this is massive and it's coming close. But don't worry, it's not going to hit the Earth. But it's big. And when we have a lot of problems, just think of the bright side that one of these things could actually hit the Earth. And that would not be good. Now let's get to the good news. Always. So normally I start with the bad news and finish with the good news. There's lots of good news out there. So first of all, there is more stuff broken in the world. Yes, world records. So this is what's happened recently. Due to the pandemic, athletes are training harder and harder, and they're not going to as many events, so they are smashing world records. See, that's a positive. In other good positive news, get hard assets fast. This is a cool little thing. Somebody retweeted me on Twitter, and it's just a very simple little graphic. The government prints money. Inflation then devalues the currency. Assets, stocks, crypto, real estate all go up in value. They inflate too because there's more money flushing around in the system to buy these assets. And those with hard assets retain their wealth. In fact, they grow it exponentially. And those without hard assets lose their wealth. This is the problem. So the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. I added a point number 7 there with Janet Yellen thinking about, oh, let's tax unrealized capital gains. But the point is, everybody, be careful. If you are sitting on cash, it's going to deflate. You need hard assets to get ahead in this world because they will inflate and they'll keep you afloat. Otherwise, if you're holding onto fiat, you're going to be dragged under the water like a big anchor. So that's good news. Get some hard assets. Other good news, look at the money flows. This was kind of interesting. All the venture capital and private investment month over month. And big thank you to Sanjay for sending me this as well. Here you see a ton of money in September, and the month isn't even over, went into NFT and gaming projects. Basically 41% of all the capital allocated. It didn't go into chains or infrastructure and like that. It went into gaming projects. So that's kind of a sign of a little bit of a blow off top. So we'll see what happens next quarter, next month. In addition, go Canada. If there's any Canadians out there, you guys rock. Now you've come up with a combo Bitcoin Ethereum ETF in Canada from Evolve. And this gives more people more options. And I hope they kind of equally balance it depending on exactly what's hot and what's not at the moment. Because sometimes Ethereum and Bitcoin aren't exactly correlated. So we'll see. So that was fantastic news to the Canadians. And in other good news, this was an article on Medium. Again, Ethereum poses a serious threat to legacy banks and institutions. Now, the big takeaway from this particular article on Medium was, or Seeking Alpha, I can't remember where it came from, but the point is legacy banks cannot compete with yield rates offered through Ethereum network and other decentralized financial applications. Centralized cryptocurrency exchanges stand to benefit tremendously by offering a platform for this yield. So it's coming. It's kind of like a situation, as I always say, evolve or die, but this is very bullish for Ethereum. And again, just like Bitcoin, you can't ignore it. You got to embrace it or shrivel up. In other piece of good news, this is from S. Svarinsky, and he is talking about Will Clemente point, but the latter part, my piece is, the latter part of the bull market is always driven by retail investors. But Google searches indicate that they are less than 25% of the Google searches that we're seeing at this stage of the 2017 market cycle. So the point is, the retail frenzy has not even begun. This is just all being floated by institutions. And you can see that very clearly from the whale accumulation of Bitcoin. So that's a positive. So we haven't gotten anywhere near the top of the market. So if people are saying, oh, 50,000 is it, and then we're going to go back down to 20. Nope, not happening. And as I've been saying for a long time as well, institutions are buying. And Will said, institutions have bought. I'm going to read his little quote here. For a while, I thought that claims about institutions being in the pipeline may have been stretching the truth. I've been working at a Bitcoin company for almost 2 months now and can confirm that these claims are true. The big institutions have been buying. They've been shaking off the weekends and they've been accumulating Bitcoin. And we're going to find out about those announcements when earnings seasons come in October. So we'll see who else added Bitcoin to the treasury. Now, what's happening with the stock market? So from this little chart here I threw together, you'll see we formed a near perfect double bottom, and this hasn't happened all year. We've breached the 50-day moving average, and again, it seems like a unique thing. This is a graphic I put together internally a few weeks ago, and it's kind of like a magnet pulling the S&P 500 down. Come to me. I was hoping for a 10% dip. We had a double dip, not exactly 10%, but a lot of things are very much on sale, falling into our traps. So with the 4 trillion sitting on the sidelines and this weakness, and by the way, the RSI is also oversold, I think we're going to go up from here. So don't fight the Fed. There's just too much money keeping everything afloat. So that's the stock market news. And a little bit of Chainlink news. And as you know, I'm a big Chainlink bull. Love it. Not shilling it, but you can't deny this fact here. Chainlink is at a quiet $23.50 or so right now. But whales have accumulated a ton of Chainlink over the last week as the weak hands sold at $22 or whatever. And the clever people were buying. The whales with 1 million to 10 million Chainlink accounted for 62 million coins worth, $1.5 billion, or 3.4% of the total supply last week. So they know something is up, and they're jumping in hard, and they're scooping up all the Chainlink. Don't sell your Chainlink. Hold it. Not financial advice, of course. Now, another piece of good news. It's nonstop good news now. You already forget the bad news. Volcano mining has begun in El Salvador, and Bukele is the man. So they now have the rig set up, plugged into the Ethernet. They're using energy from a volcano, and it is unbelievable. So well done, El Salvador. And finally, Tesla's Elon Musk says crypto is impossible to destroy. Evolve or die. Here is proof, as I say. Well done, Elon Musk. Well done, Tesla. It's about to break 800 soon, I'd say. And another piece of news as well to talk about how much the Chinese, even though Huobi and OKEX closed their over-the-counter operations to Chinese customers and stopped accepting Chinese users on their platform, the dYdX, the decentralized exchange, has boomed to record new highs, and shows you the Chinese investors, crypto investors, are moving their activities to exchanges, decentralized exchanges, with no central intermediaries, no need for KYC or paperwork. Just move your stuff over there. And we saw that last week with all the tether action and everything else. So on Monday as well, dYdX facilitated over $4.3 billion worth of trades. And Coinbase does about $3.7 billion. It's doing more than Coinbase, which has 65 million customers. Put that in perspective. So the point is, as Elon Musk said, you can't kill crypto. It's just this beast that won't die. So well done, China. And finally, another piece of good news, CRISPR gene editing has improved. And we always spoke about CRISPR has the potential to cure cancer and blindness and everything else. Well, they just got some upgrades to their gene editing technology, and now they are helping people cure blindness. Now, imagine you're not able to see for 20, 30, 40 years. All of a sudden, you get a little bit of gene editing done, and boom, you can see again. That is life-changing. So hasn't really impacted the stock price, but hopefully more of this good news will come, and they'll be able to cure things like cancer as we go forward. So it is fascinating technology. And with that conclusion, all roads lead to you know where. So I'm going to do a little bit of Q&A. I haven't done it in a while, and hope to see all you guys here. And let's jump in and grab some questions and see how everybody's doing. God, if Luke Broyles is first again. No, he's not. Yes, Joseph Punty. And by the way, I've a lot of requests. I'll just say this up front. When people ask me to analyze their portfolios, it's a pain for the other people. So I'm going to do it really short, saying, yeah, you got too much of this, too little of that. So I'm going to keep it short to make it exciting for everybody. So we have 4 retrogrades ending next month. Pluto, October 5. Saturn, October 9. Jupiter, October 17. And Mercury, October 18. Your thoughts on the effect of the markets? I wish I could say I was an astrologist, but I'm not really. I look at big macro trends with stock markets and timing of stock markets, but true planetary positions, Joseph, I don't know. But I guarantee you there are people in the audience that do. So people thought, I think a week or so ago, I'm this crazy astrologist guy. No, but I do believe in planets impacting humans' decision-making. So I will dig into that, Joseph, and see what I can come up with. But I do know October is going to be a great month. And even though the market may seem a little bit weak now, it is definitely being manipulated. So we'll see. We just went into the new day. Luke Broyles, good to see you again. What is the most important factor that gives Bitcoin unique edge? Pristine asset safety, history, decentralized, first mover, heavily decentralized, most secure computer network on Earth, extremely limited, and deflationary. When I say deflationary, even though the inflation rate is about 1.5% or 2% or whatever it is right now, it's people are losing their crypto. They lose their hard drives. They lose their wallets. They forget their seed phrases. This is why it's deflationary. It's just so few of it. I mean, I estimate there'll never be more than 14 million Bitcoin. There's over 50 million, 55 million millionaires on Earth. Not every millionaire can't even have one Bitcoin. So that's what makes it so fascinating. And now you got sovereigns jumping on board and everything else. Luke, again, when you say we are no longer early in global crypto adoption, when would you say? Oh, I'd say when we get to the 15% plus phase. So right now we're at the 2.5% stage. So up until about 15% of adoption, that would still be early. After that, it becomes mainstream. So Luke, that's what I would say. Jake Newby, I have a big bag of HMBL stock. And I think there is big upside, but I'm worried about the share structure and I don't know what I'm looking at. Could you take a look at it and give me your opinion? I can't analyze a stock right now. I do have a way to analyze stocks, but it does take a bit of time. I don't have a compendium built for these types of things, but yeah, it's a penny stock. Don't touch penny stocks. They're all crap. It's like crappy tokens. So Jake, I can tell you right now, your humble stock is garbage. I am 99% sure of that. There's a 1% chance it'll do really well, but it's highly, highly unlikely. The underdog, any news on ETH 2.0 December timeframe? Late December, they say they're going to move to proof of stake, but it could be delayed. We don't know yet. I'm monitoring it very, very carefully, and I know the pressure's on, and there's a huge amount of development activity, so fingers crossed. I think as well the ETH team know they have to deliver, because every minute they delay, you've got Solana eating all their market share, and that thing is growing like a weed. JV Fender, thoughts on investing in storage units for passive income? Thoughts about selling some crypto down the road? Absolutely. The two most lucrative things to invest in for passive income, don't get this the wrong way, storage units, because Americans like to gather stuff and accumulate stuff and store them away. I don't know if that's a big thing in other parts of the world. And trailer parks. Trailer parks get great rental income. A little bit dangerous sometimes to manage them if they're in the wrong area, but they're two great ways. Also, a good quality franchise can be very good. People used to make a lot of money on things like Subway back in the day, but I don't know, maybe post-pandemic, franchises could become hot again. My Metallica friend, Justice for All, LTC Bagoder here. Any ideas of what to do with this scarce and wonderful asset I've owned for over a year? Oh, Litecoin. Yeah, I told people before, if you're talking about Litecoin, I would exit it. And I think it was very weak as well over the past couple of days. You know, one of the things, I'm going to do a video on this. People get emotionally attached to their crypto and they don't know when to get let go, and they just wait and wait and wait and wait and wait while the rest of the world runs away. So let me have a quick look at Litecoin and see if I can see anything there. But, you know, when I analyzed it, it's just one of those things that people love it. Chart is ugly as can be, although most charts are ugly these days. But, you know, when you have something that's been around so long and it's, you know, I don't know. The stuff that comes other than Ethereum and Bitcoin that comes from, you know, 2017, I tend not to look at it. They haven't made a big splash. They may or never do. So I think there's faster horses. Don't hate me for saying that. Work hard, hodl BTC. How can we invest in Jack Moller's Zapstrike other than just straight Bitcoin? Yeah, that's a private company, but it will, I think when it does come to the world, it'll be one of the biggest IPOs ever, even if he goes down that path. So it'll be incredible. I have my Strike account up and running too. Lauren Picard, you have mentioned 1 Bitcoin in your mind, 32 ETH. Your target ratio is 1 ETH to 0.1 Bitcoin for balancing our portfolio. Shouldn't we think of 1 Bitcoin equals 10 ETH? Yes, but we have to wait to see if ETH can deliver against that. So there's very, very different ways of thinking about it. One is my target for this bull market for ETH was 8,900, but that was dependent on ETH 2.0 being a success and all that type of stuff. Second of all, Bitcoin to 100K, that would be typically like a 12x, 13x. In the past, when I first did my Bitcoin valuation models and Ethereum valuation models, I always thought 1 Bitcoin would be worth 32 ETH. But back then, Ethereum was like $200. So there's a lot more risk as well with Ethereum. Therefore, you need to have more of it. But if things go perfectly with ETH 2.0, yes, your 10-to-1 ratio will be perfectly fine, Lauren, to work with. But right now, I always like to sandbag with my price predictions and my ratios to give people targets to strive for, like becoming a whole coiner. I believe that's very, very important for everybody because it puts you in rarefied air. Curly girl. Here's one of these questions. I got 50% Sol, 40% Bitcoin, 3% DOT, 3% Engine, Uni, Matic, etc. Put more in Bit, born ETH. Everybody should be like 60% Bitcoin. That is always my rule of thumb. You got a big bag, 50% Sol is extremely risky, but I keep buying Solana, I keep buying Bitcoin, and I keep buying some of the names I like there as well, like Matic, and it's cheap. One of my bags aren't full. JRAM, good job buying that much Matic at that price. I like Matic at $1.04, $1.05, $1.06, anywhere under $1.15. I think Matic is a great value. So good job. Jebron, I'm almost 40 and struggling barely to make 40K a year. I need to invest for the future. I'm not sure what sort of long-term strategy to use. Any pointers? Try, first of all, kill any expensive debt you have. Reduce your cost of living. Find ways of generating additional income doing things you like to do, like Moonlight or Fun Gig or any stuff like that. Like I never forget a story. 1999 in San Francisco, and I had a tenant, and he was a valet at a hotel parking cars. This guy was making $5,000 to $8,000 a night, cash in his pocket. So there's ways of making money out there. You just need to be in the right place at the right time. So reduce your expenses, get rid of any high cost debt. Share an apartment. And start trying to build a plan to save $200, $300, $400, $500 a month if you can, and then invest that in things that will be life-changing. And maybe learn some new skills too. If it's a job that you believe could be high risk in the future, repivot to something else as well. MindFed, you've been bullish on Solana for a while, but you did not like any of the projects when you looked into them. Can you please explain how Solana coin can succeed long-term without any good projects? No, MindFed, the projects are incredible. All the Solana projects, the wallets, the DEX, you name it, everything is absolutely mind-blowing and incredible. The problem I have is with the tokenomics of these projects. It's not perfect. And I like things that are almost perfect, and these ones didn't score that good. So that was a problem I had. So if I had a choice of investing in something like Serum or Solana, or Airweave or Solana, every time I did the bake-off, Solana won. It was less risky and better tokenomics. So Hamada, how much are you worried about Evergrande's situation affecting markets, especially crypto? Meet Kevin said it might be worse than it appears. Yeah, I don't know who. I think I know who Meet Kevin is. He's a real estate YouTuber, wants to be a politician. Yeah. So Evergrande, I do believe there's more crap to surface to the earth, but we've seen from the big alarm that it had a 5% hit on the market and it digested it so fast. And it just shows you how much money there is, and there's nowhere to park money. You can't buy bonds. You can't buy real estate. You can buy crypto or stocks that bring about good alpha. So all these alpha seekers need alpha. And Evergrande, there will be some companies will be hit. I know BlackRock is holding some of the papers and some of those other guys, but it'll be digested. There will also be a knock-on effect to other industries. peer type companies that may also have paper that'll go skyrocket. And also you have the bond rates and the cost of borrowing for these companies is going to go through the roof because they're considered much more risky now. And that's going to hurt the businesses, but that's just the nature of the beast. But if there is something more surfacing, the markets will digest it because there's so much money, and the more money is coming, more printing, believe it or not. Connor Huddle, I love the astrology video. I am a Greek descent and also feel a connection to the stars. Curious as to some of your old co-worker predicted. Yes, great question. So I worked with a team of actuaries. A couple of them are Greek. Some of the best mathematicians in the world are Greek. I personally have taken some actuarial exams as well. I loved mathematics, but then I just got so bored with it. That was a long time ago. We're talking more than 30 years, but about 5 or 6 years later, I stayed in contact with one of these Greek actuaries. They had left the business. I was still working at the same company. And they said, hey, your star signs say you might be moving to the United States in a month. I said, no way. No, I was, sailing for the Swiss national team and all sorts of things. I was like, no, that's not going to happen. And believe it or not, it happened. Ever since that moment, I was blown away. And that happened, let me see, 1996, something like that. So it was a big change for me. This person predicted it almost to the week of something that wasn't even on my radar. And I was transferred. And it wasn't a rumor because this person didn't have any high-level connections to VP, senior vice presidents of the company or anything else. So great story. Since then, I became a believer. So let me see. Oh my God, there's a ton of questions today. Whoa. Thanks for your donations as well. Playing with Pastels, MS, Craig Diss, PKG Man, Randy Brown. Pull the trigger and shed some ETH, BTC Sol. That's a good move. You're very welcome. And MS, do you have a recommendation for what locating states you like to buy residential 2 to 4 apartment units and rent out? Any tips, videos? Always look for cities that have fast growth. Think a place like Austin, Texas, and get a property that is run down, but it's close to feeders. Think universities, think offices, that type of stuff, hospitals. There you have your answer. But it takes a lot of work to find those. But you need to be very strategic, like you're organizing a SWAT team, and have all your data. PKG Man, I picked up a few hot calls over a year out. I'm thinking it would be better to sell those calls as soon as HUD gets back above 10 or so and suffer the short-term tax. That could be, but remember, HUD 8, a big part of it is a function of what Bitcoin will do. Check out my video from yesterday. I have an arbitrage model of what I believe the stock price of HUD would be based on different Bitcoin prices. So, I would hold on to your HUD. If Bitcoin hits like 80,000, 75,000, HUD will be $12, $14 probably. And that's when you get out. So, not financial advice, but that's my plan. I own HUD. AE, with buying real estate, you always say interest-only loans. Can you help me understand why you wouldn't want to pay down principal, especially if you have a VA home loan, no money down option? That sounds like fun. Yeah, you can do that. If you have a plan of, say, I'm very big on saving cash to invest because I can get much better return. Imagine, give an example. I get $1 million mortgage. It's 2.5%. My payments, say, $1,500. If it's a 30-year traditional mortgage, my payment's about double that, $3,000, $3,500. So I have to pay an extra $2,000 a month out against an asset that's appreciating by 15%. So what I want to do is minimize my outflow of cash because my loan is debasing faster than the money I can make on investing the $2,000 a month I save. So that's why I love interest only. And, keep that stuff. So $1 million 10 years from now will only be worth $540,000. That's what you pay back. You can pay that back with half a Bitcoin. So put your money into Bitcoin and then use that later. Although it's risky, I shouldn't say that. But that's why I like to do it. And if the VA home loan was the only one you can get, if there's no interest only option, then then you're stuck. Not all banks offer interest only, but try, or at least try to do interest only for the first 10 years and invest now. This is a transformational time. Chet wonders, if I borrow $15,000 at 0% interest for 1 year with a $150 one-time fee, does it make sense to buy USDC and leave it in Celsius for a year? No. Well, so it depends on what province you're in Canada. I'm worried about the regulators in Canada, and they could shut you down. They could shut Celsius down from 1 month to the next, and you'd be left high and dry. But you could do other stuff with that 15,000. But it's never good to borrow money to speculate. That's always very risky. So, Chet, I can't condone that behavior, and always have a view to the future just in case the regulators start doing what they're doing in some states in the US. Brandon, nice video about the mining stocks. My IRA is currently all in a MicroStrategy and at a slightly negative cost basis. What are your thoughts on swapping to CLSK? I think you could take 20% of your MicroStrategy stack and put it in CLSK. CLSK has a lot more risk than MicroStrategy. All mining stocks are cutthroat, but everybody always asks me, which mining stock would you choose? And everybody's always in all these other mining stocks that are way, way risky. So I've been analyzing them for a long time and looking at a ton of data, and I saw this one as being very special because of all that they do. And I didn't even go into the fact that they have no debt. I didn't go into the fact that they have another line of business. I didn't go into the fact that they bought a ton of machines. They are issuing some more stock, but not that much. So again, it just seemed like a no-brainer to me. But yeah, say 1/5 of your MicroStrategy bag, stick it on CLSK. Not financial advice. It's way riskier than MicroStrategy, but it could have a way higher return. Handle Carter, AVAX or Link for the rest of this run. Do you think AVAX has 3x potential at current price? The problem I have with AVAX Handle is the inflation. Now, I saw some guy did some analysis on AVAX saying it's great, but he obviously didn't do the work and look at the inflation of Avalanche. Even though they have a burn, it's tiny. And even though they say the supply will go down over time and it's a cap supply, the Avalanche inflation is really high, and that's what concerns me. And the insiders are selling regularly every quarter, so that's why I sold out at 48. Probably a little bit too early, but it hit my price target. My price target was 51, and I saw the insider sales coming, so I got out. So, I'm 80% Bitcoin, 9% Sol, 9% ETH. I'm so heavy on Bitcoin because I'm all in on crypto. Is my risk edge? Well, first of all, if you're all in on crypto, that's a dangerous thing to do. I always say have things in thirds. If the crypto world blows up, you lose everything. So always be prepared for that. Not to alarm anybody, I am irresponsibly long on crypto because I believe in it, but I can afford to take the risk. So that's the issue there. Just don't be all in on crypto. Buy some Tesla stock instead, just to hedge your bets. Even though Bitcoin will probably run faster, I believe Tesla will be a $3,000 stock in 4 years. El Cid, any thoughts on Luna? Yes, El Cid, I analyzed Luna and it wasn't as good as all the other stuff that I hold. It failed the compendium in a couple of different areas. So I don't invest in Luna. I know people like it, but per my investment methodology, which everybody is extremely strict, I don't like losing money. But we'll see. We'll see if my bets are right. I already have been proven to be right over the last few months. But it'll be really interesting to see how I go through this bull market. And I'm very looking forward to next year, because then you're going to see stuff breaking loose. Seda, any update on your idea sharing with Alex M? By the way, my hookahs are on back order as well, as well as a chef knife from Germany. That's so funny. You should say that. Hoka's are great shoes. Yes, I pronounced it wrong when I was asked last time. And sorry about your knife in Germany, but everything is moving slow. It even takes to send a letter within a state of California. Sometimes it takes 5 days now, so it's just ridiculous. The idea sharing with Alex, yes, we are working on that. And he's a wonderful man. But I'm trying to get the structure correct, so it'll be extremely unique and valuable for everybody. Adrian Rodriguez, I'm a hodler, interested in DCing in some projects long-term. Sol is a long-term play? Yes, it is definitely a long-term play. Any other long-term play suggestions besides Bitcoin and Ethereum? Yeah, I like Matic, I like Chainlink, I like Polkadot. They are kind of like my top babies. and they'll all do very well. Kryptonian, how much of a DeFi market does ETH control have? Right now, I think it's more than 80%, but it's going down very quickly. 80 to 85%, but the other protocols, chains are beginning to eat market share real quick. DJ Burrock, please take a look at Barnbridge bond, slightly outside the top 300 as a working innovative yield product. Many other places do too. I will take a look at bond, and I will let you know if I come up with something. I'm going to save that as a favorite. Thank you, DJ. Crypto Pappy, when BTC tops out of the cycle, will you be selling all of your alt positions such as Link and Aave, or will you keep all of the strong ones? I don't know how far things are going to go. I don't know what the world will look like in January or Q1 of next year. I think a lot of names will remain very, very strong and continue to grow. And there will be volatility, but I think this cycle will be very different to other cycles. You know, people are saying, oh, I'm going to sell at 100,000 and buy it back in at 15,000 because it's going to be an 85% retracement. No, you got to look at who's owning the stuff now. You got to look at like that Canadian ETF fund that's doing a combo of Bitcoin and Ethereum. People that buy that, they're not trading it. They're buying it to hedge risk. So the money is different. The money is all institutional, and they're not trading. So we'll see. I will analyze things very carefully. I always say keep your tap dancing shoes on because you don't know what's going to come next. Every day this space is different. Aave could be shut down due to regulatory risk, even though it's impossible to do that. But you never know. But we'll see. Santiago, how are you? Did you manage to look at Perp? Also, I said you like Phantom, but it scored really badly. Yeah, I like Phantom because of its adoption, not because of its compendium score. And Perpetual Token, I have it here on my list, but let me see. Yeah. I did. It's a DEX. I should have that. Hang on a second. Sorry to go off on a tangent here, but I know I have more information on Perpetual Token. Just give me 1 second. I didn't have my master sheet up. Yeah, it's unrated, but it doesn't look that good. Definitely wouldn't invest in it based on some of the initial indications that I see. So sorry about that, Santiago. Yeah, again, I'm very, very strict. I have 10 core crypto holdings, everybody. Just a reminder, they are the best of the best. I've analyzed everything. I like certain spaces. I like real business models. I like really good teams. I like really good tokenomics. And I like good growth rates and adoption and development and speed and all that type of stuff. And until I find something better, I'm not getting rid of any of my top 10. So, random guy, what do you think, Avalanche? They get listed on Coinbase tomorrow. I know it's going to pop when it does that. It's probably going to go up 15, 20% easily because everybody's going to be buying Avalanche who doesn't have a Voyager account. But what can you do? I sold my Avalanche. I bought it at 10, sold it at 48. 5x was good enough for me. I don't like the tokenomics. I think there's better protocols out there. We'll see. The better adoption. If you look at Solana versus Avalanche, Solana is growing 3 times the rate. So I like to just back the winner. And Dank Doc Brown, are you going to do a video on Quant? I analyzed Quant, Dank Doc, and I didn't like it. So, and a reminder as to why. Let me check my little cheat sheet. The tokenomics is really good, but it has things that are really bad. So I can't go into detail, and I don't do videos anymore on things that I slam because I get too much hate. You know, I think like we'll see. So yeah, Quant is not one for me, I'm afraid. Caligula, what historical figure would you like to meet and why? That's a good one. Well, I've always been a huge Clint Eastwood fan. He's not historical, he's still around. He's still not too far. But I'd love to meet Clint Eastwood. I think he's a super cool guy. And thank you for donation as well. Caligula, taxes mostly discourage productive behavior like investment. At these proposed rates will reduce government revenues. Exactly. Well, people will vote with their feet. People will leave. Thomas Lean, thank you so much. Tit Bluig, how are you? Good morning from South Korea. Hello, South Korea. I've been to Seoul many times. Thomas Lean again. Douche Mahesh, wake me up when September ends. Willie Wayne, exactly. September's nearly over. And it's going to be different. Remember, it's a preconceived notion as well. Everybody thinks it's going to be good. And I'll check out those stars as well. And thank you for donations as well. Master Block Warrior, Albie, and Rick. Thank you, everybody, for being here. And let me just check on things. And if there's anything cool happening since we started. Yes! Bitcoin's up $200. I'll take that. And ETH is up 13. Still under 3,000. ETH has really been sucking wind. And Solana's at 136, that 136 level where I accumulated for a long time. Now I'm accumulating at 121. So good night, everybody. Thanks for being here. See you tomorrow.